happened again.
Right.
When the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became the mighty men which were of old. Then it gives you a hint to who these were. The men of renown. Think in terms of the Greek mythologies, and realize that they were not entirely myth. Where did vampires actually come from? Where did that legend originate? It didn't originate in the 1800s with Bram Stoker. It originated when there were half-breeds, half fallen angels and half animals around that walked the earth. These things actually happened, and half angel, half humans walking the earth. And these things are coming on the earth again. They won't be called that. You know, you won't look at them and say these are Nephilim or Nephilim or hybrids. They'll go by the name of aliens, because that's what everything is working up to, I think, is a full disclosure. What the Bible would call hybrids or Nephilim, the world will call aliens.
Now, you said the sons of God? I thought there was only one.
The angels.
Well, why are they called the sons of God if they're angels?
Because the term there in the Hebrew is Beni Ha-Elohim. It's used 6 times in the book of Job, and it's translated as angels. The term is also translated as angels in the Alexandrian Septuagint. The King James just translates it as sons of God. But, like I said, the Hebrew is Beni Ha-Elohim, so a proper exegesis of it is to use the same term throughout wherever it's used, and the term would be angels. Now, some people say angels can't take on human form, but yes, they can. And Jude says, and Peter says, that they took on human form before the flood, and they left their first domain. And this is something that's forbidden, but something they are capable of doing. And I mentioned earlier the book of Enoch.
Yes.
It's a historical book that was found in where the Dead Sea Scrolls were found, the Qumran caves. And it mentions that there were 200 angels, so it was a very small number of them that actually took on human physical form and mated with women. But it so affected the world that with sin and unrighteousness that God ends up putting Noah in the ark. And if you read that, you'll find it says Noah was perfect in his generations and a righteous man. Now, why would it have anything to do with his generations? Well, it's because so much of the world had become corrupted with interbreeding that it made the statement that Noah was perfect in his generation. So the ark, if lack of a better way of putting it, was a perfect genetic model. So God destroys the world because of all these hybrids and unrighteousness that's come into the world, including, it says, every creature had corrupted its way. These fallen angels are nasty.
So in other words, God didn't create a perfect world.
And that would be a very good trap to walk into. But I'll try to weasel out of that as best I can by saying that the world in Genesis 1:1 was created perfectly. But by Genesis 1:2, it was destroyed. The world was without form and void and had to be recreated. And that's because Lucifer had fallen and sin had come into the world, the universe that we know now. So did God create Lucifer? Did God create sin? No, but he certainly allowed it. He allowed angels to have their free will.
But if God is the creator, then who created Lucifer?
Well, he certainly did.
All right, so God created something imperfect, which means God is not perfect. He's imperfect.
That's straw man reasoning.
It's also very logical.
The perfect can create the imperfect.
Well, let me ask you this, sir. Are you a father?
I'm a father.
Okay. Could you see yourself destroying any of your children, no matter what they did?
Well, let me ask you a question. I'll answer it with one.
Sure.
When the Creator, Jesus Christ, we're told in John 1:1, created the worlds,
Mm-hmm.
when he picked up the clay and he breathed life into it and created the creature, he knew in advance that he himself would have to become the creature and die for it. Would you create a creature that you one day would have to become and die?
No.
To redeem? Would you do that?
No, I wouldn't.
I wouldn't.
No.
And I don't understand it either.
But if God is the Father and God is the creator of all mankind, and if we are created in God's image, in His likeness, and
Well,
in the tent, and wait a minute, hold on here. And in the 10 Commandments that God Himself handed down to Moses, it says, "Thou shalt not kill." And yet, how many people did God kill? All the people in Sodom and Gomorrah, His children, He killed them all. He killed all the...
Let me answer that.
Wait a second. He killed all the...
You mistranslated.
Wait a minute. What's the difference between murder and kill?
It's a lot of difference. The government puts people to death. That's killing them, but that's not murder.
So
murder is unrighteous killing.
So what gave God the right to kill?
What gives the Creator the right to make life or take life?
That's if you believe that there is the Creator.
Certainly I believe that God's the Creator and Jesus is the Creator, yes.
So once again, I'll ask you, as a father, why would you kill? You know, God gives us all a very bad example of what to do.
Well, let's look at this example. Jesus is the Creator, and He goes to the cross and dies. I just be honest with you, I don't think I could do that for my children. Could you?
Would I give my life for my children?
2 Corinthians says that God was in Christ reconciling the world to Himself, so it was God on the cross. If I was God, I'd let this creation hang it out, buddy.
Well, listen, if I could give my life for one of my children, I would.
I wouldn't.
I would.
Mm-mm.
You wouldn't? You'd see your own child die if you had the ability to save them?
I don't think most people would. I think they'd save their own skin.
I disagree with you, sir. Any father worth his weight would gladly give up his life for his child.
Well, I think that's what Jesus did.
But Jesus was on the cross. If Jesus is God, why would He look up to the sky and say, "Father, why have you why have you forsaken me?" Why would He say that if He is...
The Gospel of John, first chapter says, "In the beginning was the Word, Jesus, and the same was in the beginning with God, the same was God." So Jesus is God. What you're talking about gets a little complicated in what we call the Trinity, meaning that God has three distinct persons. It's not easily understood.
It's not easily understood because we really don't know what happened, and you've got a bunch of people who wrote a bunch of books to try and make sense of their own existence?
No, I don't think that's true at all, because Hebrews says that God in sundry times and in divers manners spake in time past unto the fathers by the prophets, but in the last days He spoke by Christ, who, being the brightness of His glory and the express image of His person. So Jesus on the cross was God and the very express image of Him. So bottom line being, we as men or humanity are not going to totally understand God.
Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we understand? Why shouldn't we? What's He got to hide?
Well, it's not a matter of hiding. It's a matter of if if I was a fish in a tank,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm swimming around in my little water tank, and you reach in there and grab my buddy,
Yeah.
all I see is this giant hand that comes down here and gets it. But I have no idea that that's attached to an arm, which is attached to a body. I have no concept of that. And God, by the very nature of his existence, is outside of our realm. So it's just parts of him we're not going to comprehend.
Or is that the way the story was written, so it never has an end?
Well, I think that the story has maybe an end that we're not quite told all about. We're told that in the end the earth will be rolled up and burned away like a scroll, but that's quite a ways from here.
But once again, there's a perfect example of a father once again destroying. And you see in my book, any father who does anything to harm his children is not worthwhile being called a father. Anybody can be a father, but it takes a man to be a dad.
Well, what do you call Christ going to the cross then?
I don't know if it's true or not.
Well, I think that the overwhelming evidence is that it is. Josephus was a historian at the time of Christ. He wrote about him.
All right, so
Others at the time wrote that he existed. He was seen by over 500.
I'm sorry? Hello? Hello? Well, there you have it, Exonation. Another perfect example of what happens when people get in the hot seat. They just kind of hang up, or they don't answer. And when they don't answer, what do? Disconnect them. Now, tell me, Exonation, do you know any true father or mother who would not give up their life for their child? I would. In a heartbeat. I love my children. No matter what they did, I would never, ever want to see them destroyed. Never. Not once. But that's me. I'm not God. I'm just Rob McConnell. And I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break as we wrap up for tonight here in the X Zone. 1-800-610-7035 worldwide toll free. And I will be back as we take a good look at this past hour here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell. I don't know, from aliens to the Minotaur, I guess we can say, to Greek mythology, to the Bible, to Noah. I don't know. Annie Lennox, take me to the next break. With each new extreme weather event or terrorist act, it becomes increasingly obvious that we live in uncertain and challenging times. We all buy car insurance. Why not collapse and catastrophe insurance? Matthew Stein, an MIT-trained engineer and green builder, has written 2 outstanding books to help people prepare, plan for, and deal with everything from minor situations lasting a few days to full-on collapse. Matt's first book, When Technology Fails, is a manual for self-reliance, sustainable living, and surviving the long emergency. This massive book covers the gamut from first aid and emergency preparedness to alternative healing, renewable energy, primitive living skills, and 18th century technologies that could be critical to your comfort and survival in a long-lasting crisis. Matt's second book, When Disaster Strikes, is a comprehensive emergency preparedness handbook and survival guide. When Disaster Strikes is an essential item for every family's go bag. Both books are available at all usual sources. There's a wealth of totally free information posted at whentechfails.com, and author-signed copies may be purchased at mattstein.com. That's www.whentechfails.com and www.mattstein.com.
MATSTEIN.com.